Welcome on into WFRV Plus Sports Night Wednesday edition. You know what that means? The Packers are back in action today, which means we have a whole lot to touch on prior to a divisional game against the Vikings on Sunday. Hey everyone, Cameron Ease here with you, riding solo once again. Good to be with you. Thank you again for tuning in every single week, Monday through Thursday, as we break down everything that we need to break down, especially regarding the Green Bay Packers finally coming off a win after that two-game skid, those two home losses to Carolina and Philadelphia. This Packers team 6-3-1, good for second in the division behind the Chicago Bears. Weird to say it, 7-3, and the Detroit Lions, who lost to the Philadelphia Eagles on, is it Sunday Night Football? Yeah, Sunday Night Football to drop to 6-4. Then the Vikings kind of lowly at the bottom of the NFC North. The Packers in a playoff spot as well, and this team, they continue to confuse us with winning or losing in ways that they haven't, or they really just haven't shown. I mean, this was one of the first times where they've put together that outside of Arizona, that final drive after New York made it 20-19, and that big catch by Savion Williams. Then, great throw from Jordan Love, back corner of the end zone to Christian Watson for his second score, and then great complimentary football. Actually, the game that was eerily similar to Arizona, where those last, 5-6 minutes felt like complimentary football at its finest, and last couple minutes of this Giants game, the exact same. So a lot to ponder over if you're someone in support of the Green Bay Packers, because they haven't done a lot of things twice this season. It's been a lot of, okay, the first half looks good, the second half, whatever. But a win's a win. And that, when I was in New York, the team was stressing to a lot of us in the media, is like, we just had to find a way to win. And that's what this game was going to be. It was going to be a dogfight for 60 minutes. That's exactly what it was. It felt like that. It felt like the pressure was on this team, and they delivered. Now, at times they didn't, but they delivered when they had to, which was in the fourth quarter, that final drive. Jordan Love looking every bit of the part of November, December, January Jordan Love that we've come to expect. Of course, Toyotathon starting, a couple days ago. So we get to see what clutch Jordan Love is moving forward. Let's get to some housekeeping from today. First practice ahead of that game against the Vikings. And the first thing I noticed when I walked into practice, which is why I'm going to play this clip, and it's not as severe as I first thought it was, not thinking it was drastic, but Matthew Golden out there for the green and gold, but off to the side while the team was stretching, kind of seeing some trainers or other staffers had, I don't even know if it's like a padding brace or whatever it is around his chest shoulder area. Now remember, he's been limited with that shoulder injury, but was running routes, not catching passes, was one of the last receivers, even after the practice squad players, to run the routes, kind of watching on the side before doing his mock route, something like this, but a ball wasn't thrown his way. Expected him to be limited. Then the injury report came out, and don't know if I expected pretty much everyone to be limited, but that's exactly what happened. Just brace yourselves for this injury report that I'm about to read before we listen into Matt LaFleur and what Jordan Love had to say today, because my goodness, obviously we all are aware that the Packers are very cautious, as most NFL teams are, but maybe even more cautious than other teams. If anyone is feeling anything, doesn't matter what it is, if you're feeling the injury just a little bit, they're going to throw you on the injury report. I loved this stat from ESPN's Rob Demovsky. Approximately 32% of the Packers roster was on the injury report. Now, that includes Brandon McManus, right quad, but he was a full participant, so maybe he goes this weekend. Remember, he was at practice last Friday and then woke up, and then Saturday he was made doubtful, so still up in the air. Jordan Love, this is great news. Left shoulder, remember, left that game against the Giants in the first quarter, returned in the second, said after the ball game that the pain was manageable, but just not fun to play through. He was a full participant at practice on Wednesday, which is just fantastic news. But gosh, I really do want to flip my screen around, and if you guys can see it right there. Yeah, that's a good way. I mean, it's tough to see, but look at that. You got the Vikings with 4 or 5 names, and the Packers with a whole CVS receipt. My goodness, what's your coupon of the day? It's ridiculous. Let's read through. Let's start with the limited participants. Javon Bullard with an ankle. Also sauntered off to the sideline, and Matt LaFleur followed him. Looked like he injured himself in some sort of way. Some of the media members picked up that when Matt LaFleur said, "Hey, Bull, you okay? You okay?" Javon then responded saying like, toe was his toe, but he was listed with an ankle injury on the report. Now, usually, a player like that, of his caliber at least, that gets a lot of snaps, and he suffers some sort of injury during practice, he most likely wouldn't talk to the media. And I saw Javon do a one-on-one interview with one of the media members. So I assume he's fine. Edgerrin Cooper, foot limited, probably a precaution. Romeo Doubs, wrist. Now, he got banged up a few times after, some of it was just anger at himself with the drops. But he was down on the ground for a good portion of time, and the training staff came out. And I think a lot of us were very concerned it was a concussion because he wasn't getting up quick, and fortunately it wasn't. He stayed in the game, but wrist injury, I mean, that could also speak to the dropped passes as well. You never know. Matthew Golden, shoulder, wrist. He was limited, as you saw, was not catching passes, obviously, when you have a wrist injury, which is something that was added to his designation, because remember, I'd already been dealing with that shoulder the previous couple weeks. Nate Hobbs' knee. Let's skip over that one. That's a did not participate. Let's go Keyshawn Nixon, illness. We talked to him. There was a full scrum around him in the locker room, so he seemed to be fine. Micah Parsons pec, he's actually had that injury designation for a good while now, so I don't see it hasn't docked down a snap count. He played over 60 snaps against the Giants. Zach Tom back has had that injury designation for weeks now. Christian Watson knee, we expect that until the ACL at least feels like it is fully rehabbed, which I think he feels like it is, but they're just going to throw it on there. After celebrating his second touchdown, was a little gimpy, so that could play a part. Dontavian Wicks calf, again, had dealt with that for the previous 3 weeks. You expect him to continue to be limited until he is fully healthy, maybe by the end of the month. So again, it's not a concerning injury report. It's more so, whoa, gosh, this week 5 bye, you wish it was week 10 or week 11, right? The did not participate. Carl Brooks' ankle. That one's an interesting one. I don't think anyone saw it coming because he seemed to be fine, and maybe it was an injury picked up during the game. He didn't leave the game with an injury. Another did not participate, Nate Hobbs. You expect that, the cornerback still with that knee injury. Carrington Valentine playing majority of the snaps anyway, doing a really good job. Josh Jacobs. That's one that's alarming. I mean, you expected him to not participate or be limited after NFL Network, ESPN reported that his knee, everything was structurally sound. But of course, he's more so. So Matt LaFleur said he was day to day, but because he was limping and he didn't finish the game, only 7 carries in that Giants win, you expected him to be on the injury report in some capacity. But Wednesday, and he did not participate in the first practice of the week leading up to the Vikings. I think they want him back. That seems to be the narrative, but you never know. But did not practice today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm curious about that. Quay Walker, neck, did not participate. Left with a stinger in that game against the Giants in the second half. Isaiah McDuffie had to wear the green dot, call out the plays. We talked to Duff today, and he spoke to the work that linebacking core had put in during the offseason to make sure that, even Tyron Hopper wore the green dot in preseason to be the voice of the defense. So the Duff did a great job, but that's definitely concerning. Quay was in the locker room, seemed to be okay, but a neck injury, that's never something that you want, especially when tackling is involved. Then Savion Williams only played in 2 snaps in that Giants game, but of course, maybe the biggest catch of the game. Foot injury, did not participate. He's been in a walking boot for weeks now. He even showed up to MetLife in a walking boot and still played a few snaps. So he was still in his walking boot in the locker room, did not participate. That's not much of a surprise. I assume that they are keeping him. How do I even put this to make it sound right? They're keeping his workload a little more on the sedated side, because if he's only going to play a couple snaps and they don't fully know if his health is good enough to play a majority of the snaps or the the workload that you had played him in the past, then there's no reason to practice him every single day, right? If he's out there for 3-4 snaps, you might as well nurse that foot for as long as possible. So when December and January rolls around, you have a somewhat fully healthy Savion Williams, but you still can give yourself the option to play him a little bit in games, if that makes sense. So 5 guys did not participate. Of course, Jordan Love being a full participant is great, and then a whole lot of players limited. So that's your injury report update on this Wednesday. When we come back on WFRV Plus Sports Night, we're going to chat with Matt LaFleur, and he's going to give an update on a whole lot of things, including the status of Jayden Reed. That's next on the show. And we're back. WFRV Plus Sports Night. The second segment of the show, we're going to do something that how we always start our morning, and that's talking to head coach Matt LaFleur on a bevy of topics, starting with, Jayden Reed posted that very cryptic photo of him getting his helmet back on. It was the last time he played week 2 against the Commanders. So does that mean that Jayden Reed is back and ready to go? Matt, what you got to say?
Is that true?
He is not practicing today, so.
Is there any timeline for him to get back?
I don't know. I'm not. As soon as medical clears him, then he'll be out there. I know he's excited to get back, as am I.
What is the challenge with that defense this week? They had Greener and Van Ginkel had all the sacks last year. They don't this year. They had a bunch of interceptions. They don't this year. But what do you see from that group?
Yeah, I think they've had a lot of opportunity. First of all, they hunt the ball as well as anybody in the National Football League. They've had a lot of forced fumbles. Unfortunately for them, they haven't recovered a lot of those. And I think that's the biggest difference as I look from last year to this year. Is last year they generated a ton of takeaways, but it's not because they're not capable. I would say it's similar to how our defense has gone in regards to just haven't been getting them. But they do a great job hunting them. They put you in a lot of bad situations in terms of just the different looks that they throw at you. They're going to bring a ton of pressure, and you better be able to identify and then go execute those blocks because they can force you into some really bad decisions and put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I think Brian does a hell of a job, as good as anybody. It just, when you game plan for them, I mean, it takes a lot longer than your typical game plan just because of all the different looks that he presents. It is a real challenge.
Matt, along those lines, your corners don't have any picks this season, but you've mentioned multiple times how they compete really well, they cover well, your advanced passing stats are all very good. Is that enough to win at the level that you want to, or ultimately do you need those picks too?
I think ultimately, when it's all said and done, I think we got to generate some of those takeaways. And unfortunately, you look at just a week ago, we had multiple opportunities and we just didn't finish the play. So I would say that the emphasis is on finishing the play. I think that would definitely give us a big boost and just more opportunities as a team to go score.
What do you see in McCarthy?
I see a guy he's got all the arm talent in the world. I just see a young quarterback. He's extremely athletic. They do a great job with him. I think Kevin is as good as anybody at putting his quarterbacks in position to be successful. He's obviously got some weapons around him when you're talking about guys like Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. Naylor does a great job. Both their backs do a heck of a job. You guys know how I feel about Aaron Jones, but Jordan Mason as well. So he's got plenty of talent around him. I just think he's a young developing quarterback, and I think it's a matter of time for him. I just hope the time's not this week.
What went into Rashawn only playing 39 snaps the other day?
Yeah, it was just, I would say, a byproduct of the game. He's never been a huge snap count guy if you look at the course of his career. But yeah, just every game could unfold a little bit differently. And I think JJ, he's been doing a heck of a job. So I'd say that's more of just credit to how JJ's gone in there and done his job.
We just allowed Emmanuel Wilson to go from an undrafted guy at a D2 into someone who can come in and make it look like you're not losing too much when Josh isn't in there.
Yeah, I just think that, first of all, I think Ben does a great job with those guys, but just it speaks to his development. I can tell you, his rookie year, it was nonstop. I was always in his ear, kind of getting on him pretty good, but it's a credit to him in regards to being able to take the coaching and just show up, I would say, with a sense of urgency every day. There was a lot to learn coming from where he came from to where he is now, but I think he's embraced that. He's embraced the challenge, and then he's maximized his opportunities.
You mentioned Savion's toughness after the game Sunday. I'm not sure coming out that a lot of people expected him to have that kind of ball skills down the field, played a lot of running back, obviously. Has his ball skills surprised you in any way since he arrived?
I wouldn't say that. I think we were pretty comfortable with his ball skills on tape. I know, a lot gets placed on drops, as it should, especially when you're playing receiver or any pass catcher position. But I didn't look at I thought they were more like just finishing and focus and concentration. So it wasn't like he's got bad hands. I thought he possesses natural hands. And I think that's one of the first things that you look for, in a guy in that position is, does he naturally catch and pluck the football? And that's not an issue for him. I think it's just about the finish and getting more repetition with that.
When an opponent wants to slow the game down and limit the number of possessions, how do you break away from that if you want to try to speed things up?
I mean, that's a team thing, right? I mean, that's kind of how it's gone a little bit in regards to you got to find a way to get off the grass defensively, and I think, just some of the situations that we were in, you're defending 4 downs, especially in today's football. I think just with, the kickoff rule where teams are starting with field position, you get 1 first down, and a lot of teams are treating it as 4 downs. So you've got to be, that makes every down so critical, and we got to do a great job and try to find a way to get off the grass on those money downs.
You had mentioned flurries a minute ago. How's Sean Ryan? It's obviously a pretty small sample size, but how's Sean done as far as the calls and all that and adjusting?
Yeah, I think Sean's done a great job. I thought there were a couple things, obviously, that I think that we're going to continue to improve and work through in regards to just making sure that we have clean operation from center to the quarterback. But I was really impressed, number one, with his poise out there, and I thought he did a great job. So I'm happy with him, and I think it's only going to get better the more he does it.
You mentioned the Vikings defense. How incumbent is it on your offensive line to really communicate well this week and be on the team?
Well, I would say it's important every week, but especially this week with they do a heck of a job of just, I would say it's kind of the illusion of complexity where they put a lot of different bodies in different positions, but it's all kind of the same to them. And they create a lot of havoc doing that. So I've got a lot of respect for how that defense is kind of organically evolved over the last couple of years. And you can tell they've got, not only do they have great players, but they've got very intelligent players, I think, in my estimation, just to see how they're able to, get to some of the stuff that they can get to, whether it's out of a huddle or no huddle. It really doesn't matter to them.
Matt, what do you think of the strength of this division so far this year? Like as a whole, everybody's kind of bunched up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could speak to the strength of the league in terms of the competitiveness. It's like every week, somebody that is perceived shouldn't win ends up winning the game. So I think it's a great lesson for all of us involved in this thing is like you can't rest for 1 second. I mean, you got to attack, and it's not just every game, it's every single moment when you're on the field. Every play is so critical because the margins are, in my opinion, as slim as I can ever remember it.
With drops, those are part of the game. They're going to happen for everybody, obviously. I'm curious, how do you approach those in terms of, does it ever reach a threshold where there needs to be an accountability there,
Yeah, 100%. I think absolutely. That's part of your job responsibility. And if my biggest concern, because there's nothing that chaps my ass more when somebody yells at a player, catch the ball. Like, no, give them a coaching point. You know, it's one thing if a whether it's receiver, tight end, back, whoever it is, DB for that matter, if you're using poor technique when catching a ball in regards to you're not being aggressive with your hands, you're letting it cross your eyes, you're letting it get into your body. It's another thing when you're aggressively attacking the ball. You know, when I see guys that are kind of passive and allow it to get in their body, then you go coach them up, and they've got to show that improvement. And I think if you'll never hear me say anything to a player out on the practice field as long as they're using that aggressive mindset and going to attack the football. It's when they allow it to get into their body, even when they catch it. We will, as a staff, remind the guys, hey, go attack that ball. Use aggressive hands. And I think it's a mindset, a mentality. But in order to see that on Sundays, you better see it throughout the course of the week. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
And unfortunately, we didn't see it a whole lot in that win over the Giants. 5 drop passes in the first half. I think they dropped 8 total passes. We'll see if it changes against the Vikings. And a guy that will be throwing those passes on Sunday, and hopefully for the rest of the season, it has been for the entirety of the year, Jordan Love. We're going to talk to QB1 next on WFRV Plus Sports Night. And we're back on WFRV Plus Sports Night. Let's wrap up the show by talking to a guy that knows how to play some good ball in November and December especially. Jordan Love, QB1, spoke to the media on Wednesday. Take a listen.
Toyotathon yet?
It is, yeah. It's time. It's Toyotathon time for sure.
Jordan, did you have to do anything to protect the shoulder today? Did you wear anything in practice?
Yeah, no. I'm not going to get into the details of everything, but shoulder's feeling good. Obviously practice day, feeling good. So, we'll be good going forward.
Emmanuel came in here as an undrafted guy at a D2. How have you seen him grow into a guy that can really step in when a guy like Josh goes down?
Yeah, I think, he's been a guy who's, I think it's tough in the situation anytime, like I said before, where you're just not getting as many reps. But I think he's somebody that's been dialed in at all times and learned from, the opportunities he has had out there. And I feel like he's just got better and better every time. And obviously, I think his understanding of the offense is, at an all-time high right now. And it's definitely something that I think everybody's kind of pushed him for. And he's responded well. So, I think obviously with Josh going out last game, it was good to see him out there. And I think he's a guy he's made some big time plays when his number's been called.
What do you have to do to be really productive against a Brian Flores defense?
Yeah, it's a defense we've seen a good amount over the last couple of years, and it's a very good defense. I got a lot of respect for him and what they do, where they throw a lot of different looks at you, and I think they try and make it tough on offenses to figure out what they're doing and kind of get a beat on what they're throwing at you. But a lot of different personnel, a lot of different pressures, things like that. So something you just got to study throughout the week a good amount and understand that there will be some wrinkles in there, and you never really know what to expect when you get to the game. But just have a plan for a little bit of everything, and just stick to our rules and our fundamentals as offense.
Does it feel like it's been a minute since you played the division game?
Definitely, yeah. It's been a weird schedule for us. Playing obviously week 1 division game, and now I don't even know what week it is. 12, yeah. And so it's been a long time. So it's felt weird, and obviously we'll have a couple back-to-back right now. So definitely a stretch that we'll have to take advantage of.
I was looking at league-wide, it appears they're doing a lot of that backloading divisional schedules for a lot of teams. Do you think that adds some intrigue where going into this late in the season, really it's still anyone's division when it's made that way on the schedule?
Definitely. I think you look at the teams in our division, everybody's in it. Everybody's kind of got similar records, and obviously, like you said, we'll be playing everybody here at the back half. So definitely some games we're going to have to go out there and win. But like you said, the NFC North is wide open, and we got to take advantage of these games, go out there and go win it. But yeah, like you said, it's an interesting schedule.
Yeah, back to the shoulder. other than not wanting to get hit there, does it limit you at all? I mean, it's not your throwing shoulder, so that doesn't really come into play at all, does it?
No, yeah, no. I mean, obviously, being the left side, it's something that you don't have to worry about. If it was the right side, it'd be a different story throwing the ball wise. But yeah, you just gotta try not to take as many hits and obviously be smart. Scrambling and getting outside the pocket, things like that, not taking any unnecessary shots.
How
Going
hard
back
is
to
it to decide? Sorry,
Okay,
Wes,
go
go
ahead,
ahead. No, go ahead, Wes.
As far as Chris Brooks, what did you think of that pass rep he had against on the play that led to Savion's catch, and also just what's the value of having someone like that that can hold up in that kind of protection?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I think as a running back, being able to step up and take on a linebacker right there coming at you full speed is big time. But it's something that we practice throughout training camp when these guys are doing one-on-one pass pro. And something that he takes a lot of I don't know what the word is. That's what he kind of prides his game on, is being able to come in those situations. And obviously he wants to be able to run the ball and catch the ball. But when you do stuff like that and put it on tape, I think it gives everybody more confidence to keep giving you the rock and give you some more opportunities. But Chris is a guy that it's whatever it takes. He's kind of earned his way in here and done some great things for us. But that was a really big time rep by him, and obviously led to a big time play down the field. So that's it's just the mindset he has. Whatever it takes, he'll go out there and do it.
Do you see that in real time, that block, or did you not see it till all the film?
No, yeah, I don't see that in real time. It's one thing that you come back to the sideline and see the pictures of it, and then obviously after the game you see. But that was big time. He had a couple other pass pro reps that he's able to come across and see some pressures that might be hard to see for other guys. So he's done a great job in pass pro.
Jordan, overall, how do you feel the operation went with Sean Ryan, first full game at center? Just how did that connection kind of go through the last game?
Yeah, no, it was good. I think there's stuff to build on in terms of just having a clean operation of us with our exchanges. But as far as making calls, things like that, I think he did a good job of communicating to other guys, make sure we're all on the same page. And there'll be stuff for him to build on personally, obviously. But it's a good test. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence, he's going up against a really good guy, kind of sitting right in his lap the whole game. So it was a good test for him. But I think he did a good job.
Back to Toyota-thon, Jordan. I know it's kind of silly in a way. What do you think of all that? I mean, it is a big talking point. I don't know if you think about it all, but.
No, I think it's just something that's cool. It's just something that obviously I think that the fans kind of took it and ran with it, and made it a thing. And so now it's here. But I think it's definitely interesting. You look at the stats, things like that. It's a wild scenario, but I think it's cool. And obviously some cool things have happened off of it.
So it's.
Yep, cool stats. He's got a sponsorship, 28 touchdowns, 2 interceptions past mid-November, and is now 3 years as a starter. Pretty interesting. That'll do it for WFRV Plus Sports Night. We will catch you tomorrow.